Okay. Is it swollen? Okay. Okay. Well, hopefully it's gonna get better. Okay, so let's catch up where we left off last time we saw each other. So yeah, I looked at the Evernote file, and so I see that you have one document for California and then one for New York. Yep. Yes. Okay. So let's go into these Word documents first. So I'm gonna leave New York aside for now because I think it's best if you focus on California. Um, and so I mean, we can, let's see, maybe you have time, but I think it's better to have results for one particular case here. So when I look at your uh, comparing document, right? Let me share it. Mm. Sorry, I have like a new computer, and so it needs to. It's super annoying. Contents, screens, files, screens. Okay, here we go. Yeah. All right. You can see this. Okay. So here, right? What you're saying is that so this is for so here treated, right, is California's what sector are you using? Right, but so this is the replication of Dubé? But that's not the California file. You know, this is the comparing fast food and retail and accommodations file. Okay, so what are you doing here? What is outcome? So this is only California. So meaning treated. This only uses California or QCW data or QWI data. Sorry, and it has a treated fast food and as non-treated. Uh, okay. Well, if they're separate, then uh, I'm not sure. Oh, I see. You just, I mean, you could just give them a zero in treat. So they are effectively the same. No, but the numbers here are, there's just one set of numbers. You don't have two sets of numbers. Or is that the plus 0.88? What is that? And is that the beta 3 for retail and the other one is for accommodations? Okay, you got to be, I think you need to be clear about these things, right? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so you ran this regression separately. Okay. Now, there's another, I think, more interesting regression that you could run, which is more in the spirit of that paper by Dubé that you looked at. Where, right, if you think of Dubé's paper, he runs a regression like this, right? But what he does really is only for, he said, in the simplest version, not all the versions, he has other versions, but in the simplest version, he says, I'm going to use fast food in California as the treated group. And the untreated group is fast food in many other states that don't have a minimum wage, right? So these are, I think it's like almost a dozen states that are at the federal minimum wage, right? So he doesn't. So that's his approach. But the idea that you want to compare within the fast food sector, but across different geographies. Okay. Now, what he doesn't do, and what you could do, is you could say, okay, well, let me see how full service restaurants or retail or accommodation compares in California versus these other states. Right? Because according to the idea we discussed, when the minimum wage goes up a lot for fast food workers, and we are, well, in whatever situation we are, but suppose we are in this monopolistic competition situation. Dubé's results suggest that, wages go up, making these fast food jobs more attractive, relatively speaking. Which means that more people gonna stay there, and more people want to maybe move there from another low wage job, right? So what will be the prediction? The prediction could be, meaning the treatment here is not really that retail gets treated directly with a higher wage, a higher minimum wage, but the treatment is the spillover effect, which is there for Californian low wage sectors that are, I don't know, full service restaurants or retail or whatever have you. And the non-treated ones are the same jobs in other states. So my point is, you could run that regression. Here, what you've done is you've done a comparative regression of fast food in California versus other low wage in California. And, the effects that you're showing, what they're saying is, well, there's a differential effect, although the p-values are not necessarily very high, except for separations, maybe. But it doesn't really, like, right? If maybe these results are not so surprising, because what we are essentially finding here is that, okay, wages go up, for instance, in fast food, but maybe there's a spillover effect, so they go up also in the other sectors, and so the difference between the two is there, but it's not that big and it's not significant. You see what I mean? Okay. So So really, that's what I would like you to explore more, right? The spillover effect. And and just to finish off, even if you don't find a big result, that's fine, because the whole point is that if instead of monopolistic competition, we see, or we are more in sort of like a competitive market, then higher wage should just lead to lower fast food employment. These workers, they are now looking at other jobs as well in low wage sectors. That should drive down the wage in these other sectors, not up. So let's see what happens. Okay. So what that means, right, is you have to expand your maybe, I don't know, your collection of data. You should, I really would like you to, and I thought you had already done this, um, replicate the Dubé basic study. Okay. Yeah. So right, when you look at Dubé's study, right, what he does is he compares California to 20 states that are control states that have a federal minimum wage of 7.25. I'm not sure this is the best approach, because maybe some states that are far away from California are fundamentally different from California. He even acknowledges this when he builds this synthetic approach later on, where he's trying to replicate with some methods what a California-like state that doesn't exist, but that you can sort of synthetically create, would look like. But you should, even if you just do his basic first result, you should see. This should be relatively easy to do, right? You do California versus these 20 other states, and downloading that data and getting started is something that I think you should be familiar with, right? And so your first point would be to just say, okay, can I pretty much get the results of Dubé, which I think you've done, right? For the most part, okay? Yeah, I'm looking at it right now in week 5. Been pretty close, which is fine by me. It's good. Yeah. So now you're just saying, okay, I have done this for fast food, right? Now you want to do it for another sector. I think the most natural sector for you would be full service restaurants. And another natural sector would be, I suppose, what could we use here? Retail, I guess. Uh, yeah, retail would be one. I forget what exactly is the wage level, but it's pretty low as well. Okay. And the other thing is, the way you explain things sounds like you have a pretty good grasp of what's going on. But I would like, especially in view of the poster you have to make, you should put this in graphical form, right? You should start really like making things that you can that are ready to put on the poster, because otherwise you're going to be caught up in trying to make everything at the end. Okay. Mostly what? Yes. That's yeah. Try to come up with a nice graphical form with like 2 markets. We kind of started sketching it out that you're comfortable explaining, because that's what this presentation, these star presentations will be, you guys will be in front of your posters. People walk up to you and say, "What did you do?" And then you have, like, think of it as you have 5 minutes to explain it to a bunch of people. You don't want to use more, right? And then maybe they ask you questions, but most people want to go like from place to place, right? And so you should already think a little bit like, okay, I want to have a sort of some background with a few bullet points. I want to have mechanism, what could happen, two alternative worlds, and then I have my results, right? Okay. All right. So let me, in the Evernote file, I'm gonna update this a little bit. Week 7 is essentially still week 7, right? Um, so I'm just gonna put a week 8 next to it. It's already like the empirics, right? Estimate the difference for other low wage sectors in California versus other states. That's what we just discussed, right? Yeah. And yeah, in all of this, make sure that you're sort of pretty clean in what you're doing when you're reporting results. So I have an easy time. Okay. All right. So how about we meet, let's see here. Can you remind me of the timeline? When do you have the abstract and when do you have the star presentation? Yeah, the 20th, 28th. That's a Friday. Eh? Let me see here. No, not quite. I mean, yes, you're right. It's the 27th, but the poster is due on the 20th. Yes. Okay. So, let me just write this down. See it here. Where's this again? Yeah. Okay. All right. So I think we should meet on Tuesday. And I think it's really important that by then, uh, you have those results that we just discussed done, because that's going to be really important for your abstract. Okay. Yeah, that works. All right. And you can let me know in advance if you can come in to the office, which might be helpful. That's fine. You can do whatever works for you. Yeah. Okay. All right, great. So we'll talk to each other on next Tuesday. Okay. If you have big questions in between, you can let me know. All right. Bye.